I solemnly swear that I will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
Everybody, it's Ron from The Truth About Addiction. Welcome to another podcast. Today we've got JJ on. JJ's a person who works in recovery and helps people and is a good human being, you know. And, mate, that's what this is all about. It's about trying to help people and carry a message of hope, mate. So, yeah, welcome, Jay.
First of all, thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk about my story. And also, I think every story has its own gold as well.
Yep.
And if it helps one person, that's what I'm into as well. Like you said, I do work in recovery services, but I've also got like a lived experience.
Yes.
And that lived experience starts when when I was a kid, dysfunctional home, dysfunctional family, from the age of when you asked me to do this interview, one of the things that holds me back is I've got a fragmented memory. I've moved probably 100 times during my life. So each time with restarting, I forget things as well. So that's one of the things that I don't ever want to leave anything out or tell a story that isn't true.
Yep.
But all I can do is tell the story about what I remember and how I remember it. The problem is most of the memories that I have are all trauma memories, like from traumatic events. And I guess that's what I've learned that feeds my addiction as well. With trauma, I've got those traits of fight, flight, or freeze, and
Yep.
I guess I've become very good at them from a young age. Learning how to get my needs met from a young age, because no one else would get my needs met. So I guess going to school, I'd be fucking shoplifting and I doing all that sort of stuff, and it led me down to the path of jails, institutions as well. But my first institution was a boys' home down in not a boys' home, foster home down at Bathurst, bottom of Mount Panorama. And I went there because my father, who I don't blame for my upbringing, because he had the same upbringing, probably worse, But when I look back at it, and I've done lots of work around it, this is my history. I had a dysfunctional family, and from that dysfunctional family, I learned how to survive life, and survived it by manipulating and bending the truth, lying, deceiving. And that's been with me for a long time until I had a little bit of a stab at recovery and become aware of that behaviour.
Yeah, beautiful. At least, as you said, you become aware of that behaviour. Look, I find a lot of things to do with recovery is survival.
Absolutely, yeah.
A lot of, I've done a lot of prison, and you go to prison, you learn how to survive. You use on the street, you learn how to survive. You go to rehab and you learn how to survive,
Adapt to the surroundings, yeah.
Yeah, we're chameleons, I hear guys say, if I hung out with the surfers, I went and bought a surfboard.
Yeah, exactly.
Tied it on the roof. I'm a big believer in that. I say, you show me your 5 closest friends and I'll show you your future.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I'm a really big believer. Yep.
I'm a big believer in that too, Ron. And I believe that in my life today, I've got those people mapped out in my life, and I talk to them on a regular basis, if not daily. There's probably a couple that I speak to daily,
yep.
And a couple of us are in the same industry, and we just share what's going on with us, and we see how we can support each other. I always believe if I'm not talking to someone else about my stuff, I'm talking to myself. I've been talking to myself in and out of trouble my whole life. And as I was saying, it all started with that foster home for me, and something I've just recently discovered. That foster home also set me up for my relationships for the rest of my life as well. They used to they'd come along, a happy family would come along and pluck one of us out and take us home for the weekend. And then on Sunday afternoon, they'd go and drop us back there as well. So, so for me, I learned that my relationships always come to an end. I was just waiting for it to end. And when I could recognize that, when I finally recognised that through enough pain, you know, and I've had some good relationships in my time. I like you know, I guess you know, I just want to say that like I I pretty much was in institutions until I was about 29 years old. You know, I went to my first rehab when I was in it was 2003. You know, I'd done probably just over 10 years jail. You know, you know, the only time that I ever felt secure in my life was at night time saying good night to me mates. You know, I might be lucky to have a fucking joint to go to bed with and a porn mag, but you know, like if that's when I thought about it in my early years, that's my most content moments in my life. You know, they weren't in relationships; they were in prisons, and they were like they were with my mates. You know, it's like you know, and I really value my mates today because I've been in that place where that's all that matters. You know, is those mates and that camaraderie that you build in those places. And you know, then just saying that as well, like even though I have been content in those places, I've been very discontent too. You know, like I've been in hallways like in Sir David Longlands with 50 other men, and then waiting for something to happen. You can feel it in the air, and it can happen. You know, I've been around that stuff too. So it didn't mean that I liked it, but I survived it. You know, I lived that life, and like you were saying before, a chameleon. You know, and you know, I guess I'm really glad that's not my life today.
Yeah.
And that all
Yeah,
changed for
100%.
me in 2003 when I went to my first rehab. You know, you know, I did like 5 straight. I did another 4. I've done some bits and pieces, and you know, the parole board said to me, and I never started using. I used lots of different drugs when I was a teen, but I never used harder drugs until I went to prison. You know, I started to have heroin when I was in prison. Before that, it was just about partying, trips, and fucking doing up fucking red lines and shooting them up in my eyes and fucking whatever I could do. You know, like it was just about. I guess that's when the drugs were fun as well, and they were there for that specific purpose. You know, I never really had a habit until well, I guess I had bits and pieces of habits when I was in prison, but when when I got out after doing, I think I went in when I was 18 and I got 6 straight, and I you know, got introduced to heroin in jail. I used sporadically, but I really never knew what it was like to have a habit until when I got out and started to really use, you know. And you know, I was just a bust king as well. You know, I'd just be doing busts. You know, a couple of those busts turned bad as well. Turned into security guards would come along, and they turned into you know, deprivation of liberties, armed robberies, and stuff like that. But I guess that's exactly what it was, all drug related. It was always about the getting and using drugs. I think you know, when I finally got to that rehab, I had 2 things going for me. You know, I was out at Brellan, and I never knew what powerlessness was.
Mm.
I was down in the village, and someone come and give me a going away shot, and like I remember fishing through the fish tank, looking out for that little sawn off, and as I was putting it away, I was thinking like, what the fuck am I doing? Like I'm going to fucking rehab this week. They're going to drug test me. I'm going to be fucking sent straight back here. And that was when I first identified my powerlessness, you know, because, or I guess all the other times, you know, I was just doing whatever I had to do to maintain my addiction as well. So that one time, and then I went to that rehab, and I guess for me, I have to identify with other people. You know, I have to be able to see the evidence that it's working in other people's lives. You know, I was lucky enough to go to a place where there was lots of men that I knew, and there was a big drug court thing going on, and they were all just doing what they needed to do to get on with drug court. You know, so they weren't going to jail. So I started doing what they were doing. You know, that you know, it wasn't really about the rehab; it was about 12-step meetings for me. And I started recovering like I was using. You know, I stopped stealing. I stopped lying and manipulating, and all of a sudden my life come together really well, and it was really amazing as well. Like so from that 2003, I had a pretty fair crack at it. You know, I stayed clean until 2014. You know, the one thing about an addict is, you know, you can wake up with nothing in your pocket, and by the end of the night, you've been using all day, and then if you're lucky, you got some left over for the next day for the morning. You know, for 5 o'clock in the morning, and that's what I was like in my recovery as well. You know, how I ended up starting a very successful construction business. You know, had $1 million business. You know, I say I had a Gold Coast wife. You know, I had everything that a boy could have ever wanted, and that's what I was, just a boy as well. You know, I had everything that a boy ever could have wanted. I had my own excavator. You know, I was out there digging holes and playing in mud. It was no longer about the getting and using substances, but I tell you what it was. I swapped my addiction for stuff. I swapped it for my relationship, and I never really did any work on myself. You know, I had this beautiful man who was one of my close friends, and you know, he was a mentor for me in that 12-step fellowship. And he used to say to me all the time, "Do you want to do some work and on the steps?" You know, and we used to have Thai food every Tuesday night. It was fucking great. We were good mates. But I never ever, I said, "Oh, what do I need to do that shit for? I've got everything that I want," you know. And I did. I ended up with like you know, a couple of houses. You know, I got married, went overseas 3 or 4 times. You know, like life was really good. The only holidays that I used to know was down in the DU. Before that, you know, I wouldn't have known what that stuff was. You know. Oh no, sorry. You know, like one thing that I missed out was when I was a kid. I was you know, I was a street kid. You know, and what we'd do, we'd band together, we'd come together, and we'd go and do earns, and then we'd go on holidays down the coast or Straddie Island, go and buy a couple of ounces of dope and get on the piss for a couple of weeks. You know, and we just had like this family, this unity, you know, because none of us had that family, where some of us probably did, but they just didn't feel like they were part of their families. So they were looking for something else, you know, and that's what they found. You know, I remember I think I must have been about 14, and they did a ABC series on us, which was called Running Away. You know, and they followed us around for a couple of weeks. For us, it was a good earn, because they follow us around and give us money, and we just continued doing what we're doing. You know, but you know, so you know, that was always the thing as well, like never feeling a part of anywhere. And when I didn't feel a part of anywhere, I needed to make myself feel better. So I'd use drugs, alcohol, sex, drugs, whatever it'd take to make myself feel part of, you know. You know, I touched on relationships before, you know, like because of that, what my experience was growing up around foster homes, you know, with my relationships always coming to an end. You know, I look at my relationships, Ron, is like I'm standing on the side of the road, side of the highway of JJ's Love Highway, and I've got my thumb out, and you know, a car will pull up, and I'll slide on in there. Hey, how you doing? You know, I'll drive in that car for a little bit longer. You know, I think it's what I want, but then after I've been in there for a while, I don't like it, so I start to grab hold of the steering wheel, or I put my foot on the accelerator, and next minute we're fucking all over the road. You know, I normally either drive it into a ditch, or what I do, and this is what I've always done in my relationships, very regretfully, but now I've learned from it, is that I jump out of that speeding car and roll into the ditch myself, but then I look over my shoulder and the car's still coming at me, so then I fucking throw a match on it and I burn it to the ground. You know, I've done it with all my relationships. You know, like I was married to a beautiful girl, Deb. You know, she come from definitely the same side of the streets as we did. She was from down Tweed Heads Way, and you know, I guess you know, I never did the inside work on myself, so that when I had some rough times in my life, I wasn't able to talk about it. And what I did was I went to a 12-step fellowship for about 6 years or so, until I didn't need to go anymore, because I had everything I needed. You know, I had fucking hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank, houses. You know, I had everything. And what I did is I took a step away from that fellowship, and what I did was I picked up a drink, and as I took a drink, I fucking stepped back away from all those people I knew. You know, I say this to my friends that are always considering having a drink. I'm an addict. I can't have one of anything. If I have one, it's on. You know what I mean? And I've proved it. In 2014, you know, like it took me a while before I picked up a drug, but I picked up a drug in 2014, and I never picked up heroin. I never picked up speed. I picked up ice. And when I fucking hit that stuff, I could not stop. You know, my mates would come and try to fucking kidnap me, hold me. They'd do everything. They'd fucking take my bank accounts. My wife was trying to support me. My wife would try to support me even using, you know what I mean? But this fucking addict inside of my head just fucking got in that speeding car and just drove and just fucking drove. And then it'd just say like, I'll fucking stop tomorrow. That real addict stuff, you know? What it did was really show me how powerlessness I was over it. And also showed me, it gave me a lot of compassion too for people that use that substances, you know, because I know what they go through. They couldn't put a fuck together in a brothel with a fistful of 50s. They'd be too worried about what's going on outside. They couldn't do an earn because they're too paranoid. You know, they couldn't do anything. And that's what happened for me. I was running a construction company. I'd lob up to my construction fucking job, fucking major job with some big companies. And I wouldn't even stop for the fucking toolbox meeting. I'd just drive past them and laugh at them, you know. My job was a specialist job in that construction, and I got away with lots. Every time that they would try to drug test me, I'd send one of my boys up there, or I'd just drive out the gate. You know, like manipulating, cunning, baffling, and powerful is what I call that disease. And so you know, with what I was saying about the reason why I picked that up was because I didn't know how to. I no longer had a support network. I say to my friends that before I picked up that drink, you know, I went to my mum and asked her, "What do you think? I'm thinking about having a drink with my wife. What do you think?" You know, she was a drinker. She just went, "Yeah, that should be all right. You'll be all right now." You know, I asked my wife. I asked my wife's family. I asked a lot of people. None of them that were in my recovery support circle. None of them. But I tell you, the sad thing is, Ron, all those people who I love dearly, none of them are in my life today. You know, like I'm 6.5 years into recovery. You know, so you know, when I went back out in 2014, I used for about 2 years, couldn't stop myself. None of those people in my life today. I burnt their company to the ground. I burnt my houses to the ground. I burnt my life to the ground. You know, I destroyed some fucking beautiful friendships that I'd made over those years. You know, like in recovery, you know, I had the best of friendships. You know, we'd go camping every year. You know, we had holidays overseas. We had, you know, we just had so much. You know, we're at everyone's weddings. You know, and you know, we were there for childbirths and all that stuff. And you know, so they're the regrets. You know, they're the regrets of what happened when I picked up that substance ice. Because today I can sit here and say to you, I don't know who the fuck I was or who the fuck I become. You know, I wasn't the man that I'd been, but I'm glad I'm not that man today. And it's only through that desperation that it's given me the willingness to change. You know, in this recovery, I've done a lot of work on myself. You know, and then you know, to tell you the truth, like you know, I've always steered away from relationships in recovery. You know, and I had a go at one a couple of years ago with someone else that was in the firm, and you know, it wasn't long until you know, some of my stuff was moved in our house or something like that. Then that little addict's like, "Fuck, you're fucking leaving this. You're getting thrown out." You know, and so what I was able to do was sit through that uncomfortableness. You know, I had a couple of support people in my life. Then when I was saying, "I'm out of here, I'm fucking getting the fuck out of here," they're going, "No, JJ, you're fucking sitting in this so you can learn about it, so you don't have to repeat the same fucking thing over and over again." And what I was also able to do was go, you know, I think that I've come to the end of the road. I was able to actually say to another person that this isn't working for me. Instead of burning it to the ground, instead of going out and using, instead of fucking you know, all that other stuff that comes, all that manky stuff that comes with a breakup, I was able to just step back and go, that's enough for me, you know. And And then I made the choice for the next couple of years to really do the work on myself. Work out what my values were. Work out what my goals and my dreams were. Work out what my ideal partner is. Work out who I am. Work out what is actually what's love, what's lust, and what's friendship. And it's only because in recovery I've got these beautiful people, beautiful men in my life, and some women as well that show me how to live. And I really believe that I'm living my best life today. And I know there's a lot more to come as well. And the reason why I know a lot more is to come is, Ron, I come from fucking jail's institution in 2003 with a brown paper fucking bag out of jail. And then by the time I left that fucking rehab, I just grew in my recovery. I grew and I kept on growing. And fucking how good's recovery? Like around me, there's people having babies. There's people getting married. Like I've got like fucking five marriages to go to at the end of this year. Like fucking normal people don't get that. The amount of quality people that I've got in my life because of recovery is just amazing. And I actually love it, and I love that connection with those people. We always say the opposite to addiction is connection, and we no longer need stand alone, and those that stand alone end up hanging alone as well. Yep. So I keep myself linked in. I'm so fucking grateful to work in recovery. Now that's not my recovery. My recovery is every morning when I fucking wake up and do my daily program. I write a letter to my higher power every day. I fucking do gratitude lists. I connect with fucking people left, right, and center. That's not my recovery where I work, but fuck, I'm grateful to be working there and supporting other people and helping theirs. Mine's sort of like a little bit special as well. Where I work, I don't just get to work with the addict. I get to work with the families of the addicts, and I get to help them understand what the disease of addiction is. And I know the truth, and like this show's called The Truth About Addiction. So when I talk to families about what the disease of addiction is, do you mind if I explain that to you, what it is?
Go for it.
So I say to the families, it's the mid part of the brain. It's the pleasure-seeking, reward-seeking part of the brain. It's a part of the brain that remembers the euphoric feeling and the escapism that it gets from that substance. And what its little job is, just like your heart's little job is to beat blood around your body, that mid part of your brain is just there to get that euphoric feeling. So what it'll do, it'll shut down the rest of your logical thinking. It won't let you realize that you'll lose your job, you'll lose your home, you'll spend the rent money, you'll hurt yourself, you'll kill someone else. It won't let you identify the destruction that it's going to cause, because it's just about the getting and using. And I say to families, because it's not a moral failing, it's a disease of addiction. Then I say to them, and I'll help you relate to it right now. Let's talk about chocolate. Now, how many times in your life have you said you're never eating chocolate again? And they all nod their head and they laugh. I go, but you still find yourself back in the chocolate aisle, don't you? You can't stop having chocolate or soft drink or cigarettes or gambling or alcohol, whatever it might be. But there you've got your loved one who takes this substance that gives a euphoric feeling of 60 times the euphoric feeling that you get from that piece of chocolate. Also relate it back to myself, and I talk about me when I'm at the petrol station, pumping a bit of gas. Magically, a Snickers bar will appear in my pocket as quick as a flash. Before I know it, it's down my fucking mouth. And I'm off to the gym or something, but there I can't stop myself from having it. Yep. So I think I always just say to them, it's about identifying that it's not a moral failing, that your loved one has this disease of addiction. It's in their thinking. And what happens is most of the time, if you put them under a lie detector test, I'm never fucking having that again, I'm never doing that again, they'd pass it with flying colours. Yeah. It's not their brain that's fucking doing the thinking. It's that fucking mid part of the brain who's got its own fucking way of getting what it needs.
Yep. Yeah. Yes. I like that analogy. I say to people all the time, the disease lives in my brain, recovery lives in my soul and my heart. And what I've got to do is I've got to get a connection between my brain and my soul that bypasses that piece of shit that you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and the only way you get that is through information and by working on yourself and finding out, you know, who and what we are first and foremost, and who and what we really want. And, you know, who and what we are is not what we've done. Who and what we are is what we were born. You know, I wasn't born a lying, thieving junkie. That took years of practice.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so, you know, I know for a fact that my whole life I knew right from wrong, even though I chose wrong. You know, and you know, I'm a product of my upbringing. The same as you're a product of your upbringing. You know, and in saying that, you know, I've dealt with people whose family have been sociably acceptable, elite, socialite, wealthy, intelligent, educated people. And then I've worked with the kids that have come out of the Housing Commission. And there's no difference in the addiction. There is no difference in the addiction. The traumas are different. He was sexually abused. He was emotionally neglected. She was physically abused. He was mentally abused by his father because he was never good enough. They've all got trauma. Every single person I've ever dealt with, has got some traumatic part in their past which told them that they were unworthy, they were useless, hopeless, and worthless. And I believe recovery is about finding out the truth. And that's why I call my company The Truth About Addiction. And I've written my book and I'll get it published. And it's called The Truth About Nothing. You know, because I'm a really big, you know, even when you go to court, it says, you know, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? And I used to stand there and go, yeah, fuck yeah. And I used to lie my ass off. As you know, I went back to prison at 16 years clean.
Yeah.
And I had to get in the box. I was the worst liar, and I got found guilty. You know, I've been found not guilty of attempted murders. I've been found not guilty of shooting people. I've been found not guilty of lots of things, but I'd changed. And what had changed was my awareness and self-worth that I couldn't shoot myself. I'd rather not answer a question than lie. And the jury seen right through it. It was like, this guy's a hopeless liar. And you know what, mate? I'm not happy that I went back to prison. But I don't really have a lot of regrets. You know, a lot of good things come out of me going back to prison. A lot of people got clean. I carried the message in the prison system.
Yeah.
I let go of a lot of lie, a lot of deceit. You know, even though I'd been clean and I stayed clean, I still felt like a fraud. But today I can sit here and tell you right now, I'm not a fraud. Today I'm the real deal. And that's a really nice thing to be able to say to somebody, I'm the real deal.
Yeah.
I'm not pretending. This is not a farce. I wouldn't be able to do this if I was still being a criminal. I wouldn't be able to do what I do for work. You know, my work's really important to me because I, like you, have the luxury of trying to help people save their own lives and how to teach parents how to love their children and not judge their own children. Because I have parents who tell me, I wish I'd have met you earlier on, you know, and I'd see junkies on the street and think, that dirty little scumbag. He said, my kids were one of those dirty little scumbags. He said, now I think, wow, look at that poor sick kid.
Yeah, that's,
you know, and that's a beautiful thing for us to be able to teach people who are not addicted. And then 99.9% of the time when I deal with the parent, I see the trauma and I see the addiction in the parent.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I see the same trauma.
Exactly. Like I mentioned before, like that my father grew up, like when I did it took me a couple of years to be able to do that work. It's like having a look at my mother complex and my father complex, having a bit of a look at how they grew up and what they did. But I tell you what, you know, when we're talking about you know, being chameleons and being experts in our field, you know, about being able to be manipulative, controlling, and lying, you know, like lying like it's our second nature. It's because I got taught that stuff. I got taught that stuff under fear. Did you fucking do that? You know, what have you done? You know, and you know, like that stuff taught me how to lie. You know, I'll tell you the story. You know, like I remember this trauma, stealing fucking cigarettes out at the back of fucking the back of Oberon on a farm. Stealing some cigarettes and slipping up the back to have a couple of puffs on the cigarettes in the fucking hay shed. You know what I mean? Walking back down to the fucking house, the hay shed's on fire. Did you set fire to that hay shed? Nope. Nope, fucking wasn't me. Wasn't me. Didn't do it, you know. And I spent my whole life in denial. Nope, nope. It's only when I can say that I did that stuff where I can
Yep.
start cleaning up that mess. And what it did, it taught me how to fucking be lying and conniving until I didn't even know the truth myself. You know, that whole denial thing, you know, don't even know I'm lying. You
Yep.
know, that's the acronym for it. And that's because I couldn't face the truth. I couldn't face the truth alone, but I can face it with other good men. You know, and
Yep.
those other good men in my life today help me. You know, they fucking hold up a mirror for me and they show me what's going on. They don't tell me, they show me. You know what I mean? But I do appreciate a good telling as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I appreciate getting told that I'm being a dickhead,
Yeah.
or that I shouldn't be putting my fucking dick in that, or I shouldn't be doing that, or I shouldn't be taking taking offense to other things. You know, like you know, how's that? Like, you know, my whole life I've been defensive against the world. You know, I haven't felt good enough. I haven't felt worthy. I haven't felt smart enough, tall enough, strong enough. You know, today I have to practice that stuff all the time with that I am affirmation stuff, because you know it's about that reprogramming that little inner child, that little inner critic, and that addict in my brain, about being able to reprogram that. So my first thought, just like when you asked me last week to do this podcast, I'm like, yeah, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. And I've been asked to do a couple, you know, and I can't do that. And what I did the next day, I thought about it, I talked about it with another person, and they went, "You're fucking crazy, JJ. Of course you've got something to talk." Even if it's just that story, you know, that fragmented memory story that I keep telling myself, that because I've moved, like because a psychiatrist told me one time, "Oh, you've got a fragmented memory." There's me diagnosis, you know what I mean? The problem is about me diagnosis is when I was going to see those people, I was lying through my teeth. How would they know how to diagnose me when I was just, you know, I was spinning yarns to get medication, or like you know, methadones, or you know, whatever I was trying to do, Viceptones, whatever I was trying to do, it was all just a lie, just to try to do that. And they pull out their little black book and they tick this, and this, and you're now borderline personality, and here you have this and that. The fucking truth is, it's a mixed diagnosis, because I'm just lying through my teeth to tell. You know, the first person that I ever told the truth about my life, I fucking didn't know what to do. Like, I told him the truth about my life, and he started crying. You know, this was a counsellor, and he started crying. I didn't know what was wrong with him. Like, I didn't think my life was that bad. But when I've started to dig into it and look at it, you know, how fucked is it? You know, how fucked is that? What I've you know, and I've been down many different recovery roads. Like you know, when we talk about defenses and stuff like that, you know, they're coping strategies for me. You know, coping strategies about how I live life on life's terms, and I live in fear from the rest of the world. How do I do that? So I develop these coping strategies. Drugs and alcohol is just another coping strategy. Controlling and manipulating is controlling that stuff as well. You know, I recently read in one of those recovery books that you know, and this is a big game changer for me as well. Because my own personal image of me from when I was a child was given to me by an uncle who was poking me in the belly, telling me I was a little fatty, you know. Then me father and him had a fight, and you know, that was a traumatic event for me. Me father punching up my favourite uncle. My favourite uncle was a piece of shit for fucking, you know, poking a little boy in the belly, calling him fat, you know. So I've always had that in my mind. So this recovery book I read recently, when this guy realised how dysfunctional his upbringing had been, and how it had distorted his own image of himself, what he did was went and got like a photo of himself, and that photo, he started to build a collage. So what I've done, I went and found a photo of myself as well, and it was around about the time when I burnt the hay shed down, and there's me on a little fucking push bike, the happiest kid that I've ever seen in my life, with some little weird shorts and a little weird haircut. But how happy was that kid, you know? Like, so now I've got it on my phone as a ringtone.
Yeah,
So
nice.
when you rang me before, little JJ pops up on the screen, so I can remind myself that I'm not what my mind tells me that I was.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm really grateful for those lessons, and every day's a fucking school day, and I'm open to learn every day as well.
I I can go right back to, I remember watching my father bash my uncle in the backyard, and I mean bashing. My man was a violent criminal. My uncle was a criminal too. He was violent, but he was no match for his brother. My father was a big man, 6 foot something tall, and a light heavyweight champion of Australia. And I remember the way he used to beat people, and I remember the joy he used to get out of beating them. Because he wouldn't just knock them out. He'd smash them, and then they'd cower, and he'd start breaking their ribs and shit like that. He used to do it to my mother too, So I had this really, really, really horrible trauma of what violence was, and so to me it became normal. And for me to be I wasn't a little fat kid, but I was a little short ass, and I couldn't run very fast. I remember I went to a school, primary school running competition, and I come third last. I had little short legs, and the old man and my uncle were there, and he was laughing. He said, "Oh, it took 36 of them to beat you anyway." And I was probably 7, 8 years of age, and I still remember it. Like, it was another way of putting me down. It was another way of saying I wasn't good enough. And my whole life I felt like I wasn't good enough. And I went on to prove, in my own silly way, that I was good enough because my family were criminals, so I wanted to be the best criminal. My family was violent, so I wanted to be the most violent. And a lot of the stuff you're talking about, resonated with me a lot. The only time I ever felt fully at peace is when the door shut at 4 o'clock in the afternoon in prison cells. They'd lock the door, clunk, clunk. I knew from 4 o'clock till 6:30 the next morning, I was okay.
Yeah.
I didn't have to be on guard. I didn't have to, and I always, I very rarely went 2 out. I was pretty lucky. The judges, in their wisdom, labelled me a schizophrenic psychopath. Again, misdiagnosis. I don't know how the fuck the judge diagnosed that.
Yeah.
He's not a psychiatrist. This is in 1971. I was arrested on a lot of attempted murders and shoot over the police and all that rubbish. And so I was diagnosed with schizophrenic psychopath and put on a drug called Largactil, which is, liquid lobotomy.
Yeah, been there.
So what it did for me was it gave me a license to do whatever I wanted, because I'm a schizophrenic psychopath. So if I stab you in jail, fucking what do you expect? If I jump on your head, what do you expect? I'm a schizophrenic psychopath, Then I got clean and I started to get an education, because I didn't know what a schizophrenic psychopath was. I didn't know what anything was. There's a funny story I tell. My mates laugh their head off. I went for day leave in a prison in about 1976, I think it was. Yeah, 6, 7, something like that. And I went up to the GM. You had to go and have an interview with the general manager of the prison. We called him the governor. And anyway, he said to me, "You have this conversation with him, and I'm trying to get a day leave." And he said to me, "You're probably one of the best manipulators I've ever met."
Mm.
And I said, "Oh, thank you." And I left. I didn't know what it meant. I had no education. And I went back to the cells and I said to the bloke, I said, "How'd you go?" I said, "Oh, really good, I think." He said, he reckons I'm one of the best manipulators he's ever spoken to. And they said, "That's not good, mate. That's not good, So then I found out that a schizophrenic is a person with 2 personalities. What's a drug addict?
Same.
As soon as you use, your personality changes.
Yeah.
Okay. What's a psychopath? Psychopath is somebody who doesn't give a fuck about anybody else. What's the spiritual part of this disease? The total self-centeredness.
Yeah, absolutely.
So their misdiagnosis was so far off the mark, but they didn't know what addiction was in 1971. No one knew what addiction was. We didn't know. So what they were basically telling me in 1971, "Oh, you're a drug addict, but we're going to call you you're a drug addict who'd never taken a drug at that stage." Remember, I've never taken a drug at that stage. So we're going to give you a drug.
Yeah.
You're a drug addict, so we're going to put you on Largactil.
Give you a bit of a shuffle.
And that was my first injectable drug. I went back to my cells. An older guy, of course, who do you attract when you're in prison? Like-minded people.
Yeah.
He says to me, fuck me, Dad, what meds are you on? I'm like, I don't know. He goes, don't swallow it tomorrow. Bring it back and let me have a look. So I don't swallow it. I bring it back. He goes, you can shoot that up. Pulls out the glass syringe because it's long before plastic syringes. It was glass syringe days. Pulls out the glass syringe, mixes it up, gives me my first shot. I turn my head. I vomit, fall on my knees. Straight away, remission. I'm no longer in prison. I've now found my coping mechanism to cope with me being in prison. I've now found my coping mechanism to cope with the world as I can't cope with it. Because I actually didn't mind prison when I first started going to jail because I couldn't live life on life's terms. I didn't fit in out there, because, by that time I'd already shot people. My father was already, he completely polluted my thinking because school was for idiots. If you want to fight the law, you buy a gun. You want anything in this world, you take it. And the two things my father hates were drug addicts and tattoos. You know what I mean? My father's hatred in this world were drug addicts and tattoos.
Yeah.
And I got both. I got the fucking open misere, lay down misere, bang. And in retrospect, because I've done so much work in the last 41 years about who I am and what I am and how I tick, I understand today. I understand that I was a scared little boy. I wasn't some tough guy. I was a scared little boy who acted tough to keep you away from me.
Yeah, that's right. Surviving.
I was surviving
junk.
And the biggest thing I came to terms with, that I was an emotional coward.
Yeah.
Really hard to come to terms with that. Really hard to, because I'd shoot you. I can go and rob a bank on my own. I can go and do an armed robbery on my own. I can do anything on my own. I didn't need I'm not a gang person. I could walk through customs loaded up with drugs, it didn't worry to me. I had plenty of dash, but I was an emotional coward. I couldn't stand emotional pain.
Rejection, blame, shame. Yeah.
Oh, mate, anything like that. Any rejection,
like you say no to me, I'm abandoned.
Yeah, yeah.
But with that awareness comes great responsibility. When I'm aware of that, at first my first thought can be fuck everything and run.
Yep.
My second is face everything and recover.
Exactly.
Think about it, take it out of this head, put it down on some paper or talk about it with my mates so I can actually see how it is. Because if I leave it in the head will try to look for the easier, softer solution. The easier, softer solution is sometimes that regression back into that behavior. Raising my voice, raising my fists, telling everyone else to fuck off, fuck them. I'll tell you my biggest lesson that I picked up over the last 6 months is that when I have that negative self-talk going on, when that disease of addiction is telling me I'm not good enough, is if I'm not replacing that with something positive, all I'm doing is left with the negative.
Yep.
So what I do, every time I have a negative, whether it's remorse, regret, guilt, shame, blame, resentments, whatever that might be, my mantra is I love you and I forgive you. Because if I'm not saying something, I'm stuck with that same repetitive pattern. So I've been saying that stuff. I've been writing that to myself. I've been talking about it with my friends. Because if I'm not changing it, it's just going to stay the same.
Yeah, 100%.
And I'm fucking sick of it. I'm 48 years old and I've been doing that stuff for my whole life. I've been programmed to fucking beat myself up. I've been programmed to beat myself up because my disease loved beating myself up, because then it gets to fucking look for the feel good outside myself. Whether that be chasing girls, chasing money, drugs, alcohol, sex, whatever that is, that's what happens as I start chasing that feel good. And then before I know it, I'm stuck in it.
That's why I call it an inside job.
Yeah.
You can't fix the inside by putting on the outside.
Yeah.
You can put all the makeup on the world. If you're an ugly fucker, you're still an ugly fucker. I mean, that's the way I look at it. It's the truth. I mean, like, I remember years ago when I was a young fella, people used to say to me, "Oh, what would you do if your hair fall out? Would you get plugs?" I said, "No, I wouldn't." And the truth is, I wouldn't. You know what I mean? Because I am what I am, and it's really nice. Recovery is really nice that you start to learn who you are. And I don't want to change who I am. I really don't. I like who I am. It's really nice. I got a feeling. About 20 years clean. I was in prison. No, I was in prison at 26. Yeah, I was in prison. And I start to think, I fucking like you.
Yeah.
After being clean for 20 years. I start to think, you know what? And then because I wasn't committing crime anymore, I wasn't running amok, I wasn't being sneaky. And all of a sudden I start to realise, and because the whole last 8 years I did, all I did was study this disease of addiction.
Yeah.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I meditated for 3 hours every day because I can't understand why people complain. You know, you have sex 2 or 3 times a week, train twice a day, and they still complain about being in prison. You know? That's a joke. You know?
Yeah.
But, you know, like I had a lot of time to really, really work on myself. And, you know, and because I had I call it the gift to be able to deal with so many people that were sick in prison and, you know, try to support and help and teach so much of what I believe in recovery to other people, that I grew so much. And, you know, I'm so grateful that I found, you know, a way out of my own thinking. I have had the same mentor for 36 and a half years. He calls himself my spiritual advisor.
I'm glad that you said that. Like, that's the most thing that I'm grateful for as well, for the people that have come before me that have shown me how to live. You know, like you just said, Ron. You know, like I got me old mate, the angry truck driver, redheaded truck driver. You know, you know, like 17 years in recovery, he starts to open his heart up for a relationship. It's fucking beautiful. It took him that long to be able to do it, but it's beautiful. You know, I've got my old mate that goes over to Western Australia, a mad old armed robber. You know what I mean? He's 25. I've celebrated his 25 years last week with him. You know, like he's over there 6 months of the year with the gold mine, collecting fucking gold off the ground. Yeah. You know, I've got another old mate that's up at, on the Proserpine River fucking fishing for crocodiles. Yeah. You know what I mean? I've got these beautiful mentors in my life that I speak to that show me that it gets fucking better. And like you just said, like with that gift of desperation, you know, it's actually given me a drive and a passion to become passionate about my recovery and about what I want to do and who I want to be. You know, I say I got to know what I stand for, so I don't fall for anything. You know, and so when I've got that in my mind, I've got something to stand for. You know, and I've got all these beautiful people around me that show me that if I keep working on me, the best is yet to come. You know, I've got a higher power that actually really loves me, and that really that's already given me everything that I want. You know, everything that I'm ready for. And like every time I stick my hand in the cookie jar, fucking things get a little bit rough as well. Like I said before with that try of a relationship when I was about 4.5 years clean, you know, and just showed me that I had more work to do, and I'm willing to do that work as well.
But you know the beautiful part is, don't you? I'm 68 next week, 2 weeks' time. I was 58 when I met my wife. Yeah. And I've never been as much in love as I am today.
Yeah, beautiful.
I was never capable of, you know, I've had lots of relationships long term. I was never capable of being so honest in a relationship as I am today. It's so beautiful. So there's no distrust. There's no disloyalty. You know, I say, why would you throw away a fucking diamond and pick up a stone? Yeah. You know, and it's not about her. It's about me. Why would I do that to myself? I'm a diamond now. So why would I throw away my self-worth, my self-love and my self-care to be a lying, thieving, cheating arsehole to a woman who loves me and respects me? Yeah. You know, it's not about her anymore. It used to always be about, I don't want to get caught. And, you know, my phone can ring 24 hours. My wife runs my business. She does all my emails, all my phone calls, blah, 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 blah. My wife could never touch my phones because I was cheating. I was cheating. I was looking outside of myself for something to make myself feel better. Yeah. You know, the more girls that I could sleep with, the bigger, the tougher the guy I am. You know, the more the more money I made, the more I was. And I've realised, you know, as I said to you, it's an inside job. Everything I own today is internally. You know, the way my kids look at me, the way my wife looks at me. My wife's not afraid of me. My children are not afraid of me. My eldest kids are 39 years of age. They're not afraid of me. You know, both my eldest twin daughters are both beautiful women who've given me both beautiful grandchildren. You know, and none of them kids are afraid of me. My kids have never seen me stoned or drunk. My 39-year-old twin daughters have never seen me drunk or stoned. When I relapsed, I didn't see them for the 5 months I relapsed. They were only 2, 3. I didn't see them for the 5 months. And I was angry at their mother for not letting me see them. Now I'm so grateful. Yeah. I'm so grateful. In retrospect, I'm grateful that she didn't let me see them. At the time, I wanted to kill her and all that madness that goes with you. But I'm so grateful and I'm so humbled by the relationship. You know, one of my daughters, I'm so humbled by the relationship I have with her. She's my best mate.
Yeah, beautiful.
You know, she rings me up and says, Dad, I'm fucking telling you, you got to slow down, you know, because she worries about my age because I work so much and I've got to a stage now, you know, you see all these old people with bruises on them. I'm one of them now. I'm always falling over, cutting myself because I'm still, mate, I still work. I work hard, you know, I work in my house all the time. My house is like the opera house, you know, I just work on it from one end to the other. I've renovated, I've just done all the landscaping again, but I can't stop doing that.
Yeah.
You know, today...
It's funny you say that because, like, that's what I was talking about before. Like, the disease of addiction just comes out in everything else.
Exactly.
I was the same with my houses. Like, I renovated the fucking shit out of those houses. And as soon as I finished renovating one, I moved out of that house and then moved into another one and then started renovating that one. Not because I wanted to make it better or anything like that, because I could never sit comfortably in my surrounds. Like, the disease of addiction was always changing. Like, I'd walk into someone else's room, and that had just bought a house on. So, like, we should put a fucking wall up there. Or we should pull that down. We could put a big back deck out there. And then when I realised that, like, that's not my business. You know what I mean? And when I'm making it my business, I'm fucking playing God in someone else's life. You know, it's absolutely none of my business.
Yep. I'm pretty good at that one.
How complicated do I make my life around that stuff? You know, like I remember, like, when I first come back into the rooms of recovery after a fucking couple of years, you know, I was always accused of doing something, you know. So when I come back into the rooms of recovery, I was still under the influence of ice. I was still messed up, you know, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll sleep with whoever I want, but I'm not having a relationship. And then what happened was, you know, I realized my actions affect other people. You know, my actions affect other people. You know, I get in the road of someone else's fucking chance of them saving their life and their recovery. I create an opportunity for someone else's disease to get their claws into something else and run away. You know, like I did that stuff for a while, but there was this one girl that was like 18 months in clean, and she just wanted to be with me. And I was like, and then she just wanted to use, and I just didn't want to use. I just wanted to have fun, you know. And it got really serious. Then I realized that my actions affect other people. And when I started looking at that, you know, the funny thing is, like I did some lists around the women that I was trying to sleep with, you know, or I was pursuing to sleep with. And then I realized what that list was. So I cut that list back down to nothing. And then I still needed to get the feel good from those women. So my list doubled. You know, it was all about receiving validation outside of myself, having a superpower of being able to do it, but not actually do it. You know, and that's the stuff that I really got growth through. You know, I got growth realizing that this fucking disease complicates my life.
Yep.
Now, the disease of addiction complicates my life. And the only way that I can do it is with that awareness, you know, and with that awareness comes great responsibility.
100%.
You know?
Yep.
You know, I read some literature that says I'm responsible for my recovery and not my addiction. It keeps me in the here and now and not fucking trying to live in the past or in the future. You know, and you know, these are some of the things I stand for. Like, you know, I like I said, that daily program stuff for me. You know, I'm a fast forgetter. I'm a slow learner, and if I don't keep on reminding myself, I slip back into that. I need more. I need something else.
Yeah. And another big one for me was unlearning.
Yeah.
That's the big one. Unlearning old behaviors, unlearning old patterns, because, you know, if you've ever been to another country, I lived in America for a long time, off and on, and I could drive on the right-hand side of the road for months, not even worry me. Then sometimes I'd go around a corner and a car would come in and I'd panic and I'd find myself on the wrong side of the road. I went back to an old behaviour. I went back to a pattern that I knew, a pattern that I was safe with.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden be like, oh, fuck, I'm on the wrong side of the road. Recovery's the same.
Yeah, I had a coach last year that used to say, like, when you first hopped into a car and you started driving, you were just like really nervous about the mirrors and fucking like looking everywhere, and you're probably doing those bunny hops as well. And he goes, how long since it's been since you've done that? You know what I mean? The subconscious becomes programmed.
Yep.
And then you just do what I don't even think I turn the key nowadays.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just put my hand on the wheel and I just drive.
Yeah.
The subconscious is so powerful to me, and I call that the disease of addiction too, Ron.
Yep.
What I mean? Starts talking to me 5 minutes before I get out of bed. Oh, you don't need to go to the gym this morning. We'll go to the Savo. Or you don't need to go to work. Let's just stay in fucking bed where it's nice and safe.
Nice and warm.
If I don't slip my fucking feet out and put them on the floor, the disease has won that day.
Yep.
Because there's no fucking way I'm going to the gym later because my life becomes too busy.
Yeah.
And that's where that we can relate to normal people as well about that disease, because it's in the head, it's in the thinking, it's in the chatter. A good mate of ours from New South Wales says if the disease of addiction was living in the big toe, we'd have a fucking machete and we'd be chopping everyone's big toes off.
Yep.
But it's
100%.
not. It lives in between the ears.
Yep.
It's the one that controls the fucking ship. All we can do is reprogram it.
Exactly. And that's why, I don't call myself years ago, they used to call me a, drug and alcohol counsellor, blah, blah, blah. My card says transformation coach.
Yeah.
I'm there to transform people's thinking.
Mine says recovery coach.
Yeah, transformation coach. That's what my business card says these days. It doesn't say, any about drugs. Sometimes I don't even talk about what drug people use anymore.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. I got a couple of guys who are gamblers, and they talk about vomiting after watching a horse race, and to me, because I've been a gambler, but not to that extent. But then I talk about shooting heroin, and they go like, "Whoa, fuck that!" And they can go and blow, hundreds of thousands of dollars on a couple of horse races, and their whole life fall apart. And then I say, "Yeah, but it's the same disease," and they go, "Yeah, it is. The degradation, dereliction, and hatred is the same, And as you said before, mate, the opposite is to addiction is connection, and you've got to have a connection with a power greater than yourself. I don't care what it is, who it is, where it is, but it can't be you. You've got to have a power.
I've been around long enough to hear what you're saying there, because I've seen people that try to stay being their higher power, or they make their new relationship their higher power.
Yeah.
And it takes them straight away from what they need to keep doing for themselves. It's like telling a fucking a diabetic that they don't need the insulin anymore.
Yeah, 100%.
Because that's what they start doing. They start closing their eyes to it.
Yeah, you hear me say this a lot. I guess I do say it a lot. If you're being mentored by yourself, or you're being mentored by a fuckwit.
Yeah.
I mean, like it's that simple. You're mentoring, but being mentored by the last bloke you used with. How'd that go? How the fuck did that go?
Yeah,
and if you had the answers, you wouldn't have the questions. This is such a. Remember years ago when I first ever came into recovery, I went to AA and all those, and they said, it's a simple program for complicated people. And I was thinking, what the fuck do they mean by that? And today that is so blatantly obvious. We try to complicate it with philosophical bullshit. The simple thing is,
we look for the solution. Our mind looks for the solution in something else.
Yeah.
And the solution is simple. Don't pick up the fucking first one.
Exactly. 100%.
Pick up the first one, all bets are off.
Yeah, 100%. And I say to people, this first thing I say to people, can you put a chemical in your body and guarantee behaviour?
Yeah.
No. Can you put a chemical in your body and stop at one? No. Okay, you may have the disease of addiction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I say to people that I work with, just give it a go for 30 days. If it's not working out for you, you can have it all back. You know what I mean? Don't take that girl's number. Yeah. Just fucking don't pick up the first one. Just stay focused on yourself. And, what I've seen is people change their life, absolutely change their life. And
I love the miracle.
Takes someone to be able to stand up to them and actually say, that's not working for you. How about you fucking try something different? And that's what the message is that we carry as well. And I'm really grateful that you're carrying this message through the work that you're doing as well, Ron,
Yeah, no, mate, this is something that if you had said to me 10 years ago, or I didn't even know what social media was, I didn't even know what an iPhone was. I came out of jail 10 years ago. I didn't even know that had all come out while I was away. And, some programs go anonymity this, anonymity that. Yeah, okay, that was right in 1953. This is 2022. Yeah. We have to get to the masses. The way we get through the masses is through social media.
Yeah,
more people are watching this podcast than are walking down the street at fucking Surrey Hills or Redfern and listen to somebody talk. Yeah, my whole life's about carrying a message, and people say, "Oh, but why do you do it?" To be quite honest, I do it because it makes me feel good. The same way as I use drugs.
Yeah.
The same way as I use drugs.
Yeah.
And if recovery wasn't better than using, I'd still be using.
Yeah. Well, someone said to me, "What are you passionate about?"
Mm.
You know, and that's what I believe that you're passionate about.
Yeah,
as
this
well.
is my passion. This is my passion.
Me too.
My passion is seeing people get. And I say to new people when I take new clients on, they go, "What's your reward?" I said, "In 5 years' time, you ringing me up and saying, 'Oh, mate, I've just met this beautiful girl,' or 'We're buying a beautiful house,' or 'My wife's having a baby. We want you to come to the christening.'" So that's my pay.
Yeah.
I said, you know,
5 weddings.
Yeah, the money's not the fucking motivation for me. You know, it never has been. You know, even doing crime, the money wasn't the motivation. I had plenty of money. Mine was big shot-itis. Mine was getting away with it. My addiction was getting away with it. That I was smarter than everybody else. Then I got 18 years, and it made me really sit in the cell and think. Now we have a joke. The judge says to me, he said, Mr. Isherwood, he said, "You're a thinker." He said, "So I'm going to sentence you to 18 years imprisonment. Think about that."
Yeah, wow.
Mm. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what he said to me.
Yeah. They've got some gold. Them those people with the power.
Yeah.
My last one said you're on wood.
Mm.
My last one said you're on wood. And how the fuck did you end up back in front of me? You know, like you know, I had like 19 years in between any offences.
Yeah.
And then I ended up back in there, and he's just like, my barrister was talking about the maximum penalty to something. That Supreme Court judge was talking about District Court judge was talking about my recovery.
Yeah,
and at
nice.
that moment I knew I wasn't going away.
Mm.
So, and he just said, "You're on wood." So I took it very seriously.
Yeah.
I even gave up smoking the very next day.
Yeah. I had a 20 years space between getting out and going back, and boy, the system had changed. You know, I had changed and the system had changed. And it's been 20 years since my last conviction.
Yeah.
And, you know, there won't be another. There'll never be another, because you have to commit a crime to get a conviction.
So, yeah, like I say, I'm really glad that's not my life today. And I'm really glad that I had that experience as well of going back and seeing what I didn't want.
Oh, 100%, mate. You know, like, I know what I want. I want freedom from active addiction. I want freedom from self, and I want freedom from fear. And the way I can get that is to stay in recovery and to be vigilant with my own personal program, whatever that may be. That may be. And you know what? I don't care what people do to stay clean. As long as they're staying clean and they're not harming others, good luck to them. Good luck to them, you know?
And one of our good friends says there's many different roads to the top of the hill as well, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, I believe in that. I believe that, you know, for me, I know that I've got to keep coming back and giving away what was freely given to me.
Yep.
But I also know that some people aren't like me. Some people, you know, didn't go to the depths that I did. That wasn't programmed the same, you know. So I'm okay with people following their own recovery, but I'm also fully aware as well, and I carry that message that, you know, after being 6 years into recovery, it was too easy for me to leave, and today I'm about that time again, and there's fucking no way in the world I'm leaving.
Yeah, it's been a change. I believe you become at peace with the fact that once too many thousands is never enough. Yeah. I say to everybody, I can use, but I can't use and be happy.
I can't fucking stop.
Yeah, I can't use and be happy. I can't use it. The joy's gone. You know, break out in handcuffs.
Yeah. You always get fucking. That's the only way I could stop, and then I still couldn't stop.
My last detox is the only detox I had that wasn't in prison. You know, and I come off 120 mil a day in cold turkey because I knew, because I'd been around for 5 years, the fellowship, that at least the pain of the detox would get better. And I knew that the pain of using would get worse.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So I knew that there was, you know, it was a no-brainer. Go through the pain of the withdrawal. It will get better. Continue to use. It will get worse. And that's what I promise to all people. I say to everybody, I only promise two things. If you get clean and stay clean and work a program, your life will get way beyond your wildest dreams. If you continue to use, your life will become the most horrible thing you've ever experienced. And I guarantee that either way. I really do. I guarantee that 100% after being around for 41 years, I've seen enough people come and go to know that using doesn't work.
Yeah, and we've got plenty of good examples for people that have made their way back that are really 100%. Serious about their recovery now as well.
Yeah.
And like you were saying before, it's a real fine line to be able to stand on your soapbox and go, this way is the only way that works. Well, it's the only way that's ever worked for me. I've tried that maintenance. I've tried that fucking, I know I've heard of a guy that, used to talk about, in his home country. They even tried changing his blood.
I've heard that
shit, tried to change everything. For me, I even tried that hypnotherapy stuff, And, the problem was they thought it was really working. I just turned up there stoned and just go on the nod for the whole time. I had to let it down one day, and I just go like, I'm just fucking stoned,
I've just been fucking with you.
Yeah.
No, mate. Look, I only for me, total abstinence is the only way. And whatever works for them is good for them. But for me, I'm a advocate of total abstinence, and I'm also an advocate of, for me, carrying the message, sharing the information I've been given. I'm obliged to try to help anyone in active addiction get off their filthy fucking drugs. I hate them. Whether it be drugs, whether it be gambling, whether it be sex, whether it be food, it doesn't matter, because it's something that's controlling and abusing your mental state and your well-being and your mental health. And to me, we all deserve to have clarity, calmness, and love in our life. And my higher power loves me, understands me, and forgives me. And that's all he has to do. And that's all I have to do to you, and that's all I have to do for me. Love, understand, and forgive myself,
Treat other people the way you want to be treated and be the change you want to be in the world.
Exactly,
like the rest of the world, just be the way that you want to be for yourself. Just touching on that higher power stuff again, and one of my mentors and coaches that I've done a little bit of work with talks about that spiritual void. That spiritual void about coming to this earth as a spiritual being, and then getting given caregivers that's supposed to look after you and give you the care. Well, they're too busy fucking trying to care for themselves to give you the care. They give you the wrong messages. One moment they're going, oh, JJ, when he falls over, you're all right, buddy, hop up, it's all right, we love you. The next moment they're going like, get up, what are you crying about? Do you want something to fucking cry about? I'll give you something to cry about.
Yep.
And then, the world corrupts us, wrongs, rights, do's, don'ts, colds, hot, and then what happens is we fucking learn how to survive those things so that we don't feel like a shit cunt.
Yep.
And when we survive that, those become our habits and our patterns. Oh, this works for us. Our spirit becomes corrupted. We go from being a baby, which will laugh with its whole body, big belly laughs, to going into a young kid laughing, and then adults not laughing much at all. But as we get connected with our spirituality again, don't we have some belly laughs in recovery?
Yep, and the early recovery starts again. You shoot yourself. It's like, whoa, how long since I've done that?
Yeah,
it's an awakening. I love the word awakening. Because we are asleep. We're emotionally, mentally asleep. And it's been an awakening for me, mate. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that I've got given the life I've been given. I've got no regrets, mate. I really haven't, because today I am who I am because of what I've been.
Yeah,
I'm not what I was. I'm what I am.
More will be revealed.
Yeah, 100%. And go.
I just finish on this one thing as well, Ron. It's a guide of my misunderstanding.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have a fucking clue what it is. I wouldn't. But how fucking perfect are babies?
Yeah,
I mean, where the fuck did that shit come from? I know where it come from, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like there's some greater power to play here, and
100%.
I'm just grateful that that I'm open to it, and I don't have an ego that tells me that I can't believe in someone else's higher power.
Yeah. All I know is that it works, and that's all that matters to me. It's like everything. To me, people ask me about, I'm result driven. I like seeing people get clean.
Evidence, yeah.
I'm evidence driven. You know, my rewards come from people's happiness. I like seeing my friends kick on. I love seeing people get better. I love seeing people achieve. My heart goes out to anyone I see relapse. Always does, because I know where they're going. I've been there. I've done that. You know. Life. You know, look. This is how I see it. If it changed me, it can change anybody. And for years, I didn't know the change. Now I appreciate the change, and now I'm grateful for the change. Really appreciate you coming and doing this for me, brother. We're doing it for the people that are going to listen more than, you know, but for me too, I got a lot out. It's been enjoyable. It's been fun for me.
Yeah, it's nice to listen to you, Ron, and nice to connect with you. And like I said before, I really appreciate the chance to share my story and you know, the hope that it's going to help someone else. You know, like that a couple of hopeless addicts, you know, hopeless street kid, come gangster family, you know, like it doesn't matter, all walks of life, doesn't matter where you come from, that there is hope.
Yep.
And you know, like I've got my two favorite tattoos. You know, I've got like this one's love
and hope. See it.
Love and hope. Let others voluntarily evolve.
Yeah.
And of course, that hope's hold on, pain ends. You know, and you know, I say that to the people that I work with all the time. You know, these are actually for you. You know, because it does work if you work it, but if you don't, it doesn't work.
Exactly, mate. It does. Thank you, brother.
I solemnly swear that I will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.